With COVID-19 rapidly changing the industry as each day goes by, there is and will continue to be a demand for content. In today's episode, we shed light on how creatives can dive into content creation, even if for the very first time, and absolutely kill it. In today's episode, we chat with Austen Tosone of Jumprope app as she shares how to transition from set to social media. Austen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jaleesa. I'm so excited to get started.
Of course, I am so excited about this episode. I feel like, as I named the episode "Set to Social Media," I mean, of course, you can still be on set, but I feel like content creation is something that is so sometimes intimidating for a lot of people. And I just wanted to, share as much as I can. I've given a lot of information to people who have reached out to me, but I'm like, you know what? Let's ask one of the pros. I mean, as much as I know you've been doing this for a really long time, and I just really wanted to give everyone the opportunity to get as much info as they can. But before we get into all of that, Austin, I want everyone to know all the great tips that you're going to share, but I want to find out a bit more about you and how you got into your role as the beauty director at Jumprope.
Yeah, definitely. So I grew up always kind of reading fashion and beauty magazines, and I was very interested in the editorial content that came out of that world. And I didn't know at first if I wanted to be, like a fashion designer or some kind of stylist or an editor, but I just knew that that world was very appealing to me. So when I was in college, I got to intern at a couple of different publications. I went to school in New York City, so I was able to kind of intern throughout the semester. And once I graduated, I ended up as an editor at Nylon magazine. And that was, fashion was always kind of my initial interest. But once I started working at Nylon, that's where I really got exposed to beauty and the beauty closet there, getting sent products, seeing a whole free bin of things that we could take once they were tested or, that the closet would get duplicates of. And so that was kind of the pathway into me for getting exposed to beauty and the whole beauty industry. And so I worked at Nylon for a year and a half, but then Nylon print folded. So I was laid off and then I moved on to Interview magazine. And Interview actually didn't really have much of a beauty part to their publication. So I kind of turned to my blog to continue to talk about beauty. And I also launched a YouTube channel in 2017 where I did lots of beauty product reviews, tutorials, haul videos, and things like that. So after Interview also folded, I ended up being a freelance writer, editor, content creator for about a year and a half before ending up at Jumprope. And it was honestly just the perfect next role for me because I knew my love of beauty, I knew my love of content creation, and I knew my love of educating creators, which I know you and I both share that.
Right.
And so this was truly like the perfect next thing for me to kind of fall into. And so I joined Jumprope in September of 2019. And that's kind of what brought me to this point today.
Oh wow. So wait, how was your experience as a full-time freelancer? It's probably like a really different world that you've kind of like been switching back and forth between like, okay, I went to this magazine, then I'm not, then I'm this, I'm like, so how was that for you? Because I'm sure it was a little stressful, no?
It was 100% stressful, but the main reason for that was because I didn't get to, leave the job and go off on my own with a plan. It was very much like, okay, it's kind of sink or swim right now. Someone has to pay my rent, and I think it has to be me. So, how can I make money doing what I love and what I'm good at? I definitely was always interested in the idea of being a freelancer or an entrepreneur of some kind. Like I grew up, selling greeting cards to my parents with a lemonade stand, on my childhood street, which was like a cul-de-sac that no one came down. And I always just liked the idea of making things and getting people excited about them. And so it was really it's exciting for me. And it was also a very transitional time of media. It still kind of is now, where even the magazine jobs that I was, kind of looking at here and there, they just weren't as exciting to me as the freedom to be able to do many different things that I was interested in. And I actually ended up writing a couple of blog posts explaining my income breakdown throughout my time as a freelancer, because I wanted to show people that it is important to have multiple revenue streams and also show them how those percentages varied each month. So, another thing that being a full time freelancer taught me was the importance of creating your own products and services, which led me to creating a digital ebook to kind of bring in some passive revenue if there were fewer articles being assigned to me one month or fewer brand sponsorships for my blog and YouTube channel another month. So, I was very interested in making sure that I could support myself in many different ways, but that definitely requires a lot of attention to detail and organization and understanding deadlines and learning about taxes. So it was definitely a big undertaking.
So I love that, by the way. And many creative entrepreneurs are looking to expand their businesses online, like you said, creating passive income. And a lot of people have been doing like online classes, and like we're talking about today, getting their feet wet into content creation. And
Mhm.
as a content creator myself, what are three crucial steps you would take uh to stop thinking about it and just getting started?
Yeah, well, I think you kind of gave away step number one, which really is to just try something so that you kind of have a baseline understanding of how it works. So even if you have to stumble through your first YouTube video or your first jump rope and not fully understand how the editing features work or how to add a title or how to add music and all of these things, to at least go through the motions so that when you go to look for additional resources and education for different tools and platforms, you have at least a baseline knowledge of what everything looks like. And even being able to post, just a quote on Instagram and put hashtags there and try to share it to your stories, I think is just something that you should do before you start trying to figure out Instagram strategy and stuff. I think you have to be in it and try it once before you do that. And then I would say the second thing that I would do is, there's so much amazing free information out there. I mean, like your podcast is a great example of this. I think that there are so many YouTube channels that can really educate you on how to start, on YouTube, or how to start with content creation. I personally love Sunny Leonard Doozy and Vanessa Lau for tips on content creation and growing a brand and digital presence online. And I think that spending time in those free resources is just a good way to start to learn industry terms and information and kind of start to compile it all in your head. And then once you are kind of at that point, then to go from that into slowly starting to invest in yourself through potentially online courses or buying digital products like ebooks or guides or checklists or things like that to help strengthen your content. You can start off small. There are a lot of, amazing ebooks out there that are under $20 that you can invest in. And then you could also try some of those, see if you get results, and then work your way up to a course that potentially costs like a couple $100s. But I do think ultimately it is worth investing in yourself in one of those ways to learn more about how to be better at what you do. But I think that if you are just starting out, you don't need to feel the pressure to go out and buy the course before you even tried like making a video once. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, it makes absolute sense. So let's say, okay, they've gone over, all the steps, they've tried, all these different like platforms, and they're getting a little bit comfortable. How would you go about actually like coming up with ideas? And like sometimes it's just like, well, what do I do? What do I say? Because honestly, I'll tell you something, even as a pro makeup artist, sometimes I don't do particular things because in my head I'm just like, oh, this is so basic, like I don't even think about like I should do that. But
Mhm.
people want to know, like even the simplest things people want to know. So how would you like, how do you come up with your content and like kind of organize like all the things that are going on in your brain?
Oh, yeah, it's a process that's taken me a long time to figure out, but I think like what you just said, where it might seem basic to you, but to someone else, I still struggle with doing winged eyeliner, and I will constantly always rewatch a bunch of different tutorials about it to see everyone's different techniques. And the beauty of makeup artists is that no one creates a winged liner in the exact same way. So even seeing one video from someone can give that person an aha moment where they suddenly feel like, wait a minute, I can actually do this, which is really, really helpful. And then I think in terms of coming up with content ideas, maybe outside of some of those more basic things, one thing that I like doing is I go on Jumprope and there are a bunch of different collections in the app. And sometimes if we start to see something trending, like for example, Dalgona coffee, like that whipped coffee that's been going around, we started to see a bunch of creators making those. And so it became a collection within the app. And the same way, we've been seeing a lot more like DIY hair masks for beauty, a lot more like how to remove gel manicures, how to do at home gel manicures, how to take off press on nails, and things like that. And I think that looking at what other people are doing can definitely inspire you to do your own take on kind of a common trend or theme. And we on Jumprope's Instagram usually post like content ideas for the month just to get people's ideas running. And I
Mhm.
think that, for May, I had said, maybe some kind of Mother's Day makeup challenge. Like it seems kind of silly. How can you do a challenge about Mother's Day and do something beauty related? I'm currently quarantining with my mom, so I actually stole her makeup bag and did like a full face using her favorites. And so, Mother's Day is kind of a weird example of that. But even for 4th of July or autumn makeup looks, that kind of seasonal content is always somewhere that you can start with if you feel like you can't come up with a new and like brilliant original idea.
Right. So you've mentioned that you have been with Jump Rope since September of 2019, and we've referenced it a few times already. But can you give us more information on what Jump Rope is, and how can someone start using it? Just a little bit more information about the app itself.
Of course. So, Jump Rope is the best place to go to discover how to do anything. So, with Jump Rope, you can both create and discover how to videos and tutorials. And this is really unique because it's all broken down in kind of a step by step format. We definitely are big believers in education and sharing information about how to get results or how to replicate a certain project or makeup look or anything like that. And beauty is one of our largest categories. We do have others like crafts, fitness. So you can find recipe videos, at home workouts. You can find social media tips and all of those kinds of things too. And the best part about Jump Rope really is that you create a video once and the app generates exports for you to share to every social media platform. So you can get exports for Instagram stories, for pins for Pinterest. You can get the horizontal video for YouTube so that there aren't annoying black bars, and it streamlines the content creation process so much and makes it really accessible so that you can feel like you can be on multiple platforms. I think the biggest thing that creators struggle with is kind of knowing which platform is best. And so being able to just have all of those exports already at your fingertips with no extra work and be able to test out content on different platforms is really exciting. And we are currently working on a TikTok export too. So that will be our latest export feature for Jump Rope too.
I love that. And guys, it is so easy to use. But what I really love about it is that not only can you export, but you can like change up the editing. You can add different colors. You can add things to Pinterest. Like it's so easy. Like, I don't know. I just felt like, how come this didn't exist in all this time? Because I think, like you said, sometimes it's like, oh, I want to create a video for YouTube, but I want to put it on Instagram stories. Like I want to put on IGTV. How do I make both of them work? Do I record with two phones? But with Jump Rope, it makes it so simple and straightforward.
Yeah, I actually once saw a meme or someone's Instagram story of what you just said, which was two phones like rubber banded together, and one of them was recording horizontal and one of them was recording vertical. And Jump Rope eliminates that problem completely, which is awesome. And we've actually had creators tell us, people who don't want to spend the money on, Premiere Pro to edit videos or who don't have time to learn iMovie, that Jump Rope has empowered them to like actually start a YouTube channel or to actually start a series on IGTV. And hearing that is just so great because empowering people to share what they love with the world is the coolest thing.
Yeah, I love that. So, is there a particular platform that you would suggest over another? I mean, every platform is free for us to create, but in terms of like, getting your name out there, or, just for you in your experience, because you've been on all the platforms for quite some time, like which one has been the most, I mean, it's different for everyone, but is which one has been the most like successful for you? Like which one would you say? if I had to start on one, like I just want to focus on one because I'm overwhelmed. Like which
Oh, I know. Oh, this is an awesome question, and it's hard for me to answer it, but I'll kind of walk through, I guess, my thought process of which platforms are valuable and why they are. I mean, I've had my blog for actually 8 years now this month, which is crazy. And I think that blogs are great for, the ownership factor, right? Like that is your website, that's your content. It's not controlled by an algorithm. And you also have SEO, search engine optimization, on your side so that people can always kind of be finding that content and that it lives on the internet forever. So it can really accumulate views over time and bring in huge traffic numbers if you are smart about titling your blog posts and throwing in keywords and phrases that people might be searching for, and it's yours. I think that's the most important thing. I would say that YouTube is very similar in that way, where content can live and videos will still pick up views over time because YouTube is a search engine. And if you made the first video about like how to do winged eyeliner, you are surely still attracting new views and new subscribers to your channel over time. And I think that if YouTube is optimized in with that kind of mindset and you kind of pick one thing to become an expert on, that YouTube can really take off for a lot of people. It is a ton of work though, especially, I wish I had had Jumprope when I was starting my YouTube channel because it would have been a
oh,
massive time
right.
saver.
Yep.
But then you have to think about, what still kind of reigns as very important. And Instagram is obviously one we have to talk about. I think for Instagram right now, creators are having a little bit of frustration with not seeing as much rapid growth, maybe not seeing as much exposure from hashtags. And the main downside of Instagram is really the lifespan of the content. I mean, you post a photo on Instagram, and after 48 hours, it's like completely gone out unless you are somehow appearing on a trending hashtag. And I think that that is kind of frustrating because it is still considered probably one of the most important social media platforms,
Right.
but you don't necessarily get a long term return on all of the work that you're putting into it
Right.
compared to your blog or YouTube. And then I think TikTok is super important right now just because, unlike Instagram, you can still get discovered on there, even if you have a small audience. And I have loved getting to discover new creators that I found on TikTok. And I feel the same way about Jumprope too. People who have 100 Instagram followers who are making amazing content. And it's so hard to find them within Instagram itself. So I'm going to Jumprope and I'm going to TikTok to look for those new people. Like I found this photographer on TikTok. His name is Christian Blake, and he has about 250,000 TikTok followers now, and he has about 11,000 on Instagram. And I followed him on Instagram because I found him on TikTok. He has these like photo shoot ideas and concepts. And I can't imagine how I would have found him if I was just only on Instagram all day.
Right. So besides TikTok, and there's a lot of things that are trending on there. What other trends do you see happening in the world of beauty that our listeners should be aware of?
I think that beauty has been interesting to watch, especially compared to like when I talk to the other community managers for Jumprope for food and crafts. They have had a lot more volume of content, I think, than beauty, just because everyone has to eat. Lots of people are home now with their kids doing crafts and things like that. So I haven't actually noticed like too much change in the inherent content of what people are doing with beauty, at least on Jumprope. I think that originally, when the shutdown kind of first started with coronavirus, there was a bigger focus on self care, facial oils, hair masks, natural nails, like not gel manicures and things like that. And I think now that things are kind of slowly starting to reopen, we're going to see a lot more people start to dip back into color cosmetics, to start using heat on their hair again. And I think that as far as like makeup goes, though, I think eyes and eyeshadow palettes are going to be huge right now, especially if we're all going to be wearing masks out in public. I have a hard time picturing me wanting to buy a new lip gloss or like lipstick right now, just because if it's going to be covered up anyway, it doesn't really seem like a good investment to me. But I've even noticed like on TikTok, tie-dye has been a big trend for clothing, and I recently saw like Brittany Xavier did a tie-dye eyeshadow look, and I think that this actually is going to just bring up so much creativity and so many different ways of doing things. I mean, I even felt inspired to do like a more editorial beauty post on my Instagram yesterday, even
Mhm.
though I haven't done something like that in so long. But
Right.
what do you think too? I mean, you have been doing obviously amazing content, but what have you been seeing in the makeup artist world?
Well, my ears pricked when you said tie dye because everywhere I've been looking has been, tie dye everywhere. And with clothing, I haven't seen much on makeup, but I'm like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. But besides like the things that I've been seeing on TikTok, I think people really just stepping out and just creating their own type of editorials, their own ideas has been like, oh wow, this is like a whole like new concept, or this is something that I haven't seen before, or it's like a twist on something. So I really think what's trending is people stepping out of their own boxes. And like, I might be following someone and I might see them post something that I might not have seen them post before. So I think
Mhm.
people are just challenging themselves in different ways. I feel like it's different because, I think the beauty world used to have those phases where it's like contouring was everything. And
Mhm.
then, like baking was everything. And now it's just like being creative is everything, just doing anything that you want is like what's trending. So I love that because coming from Trinidad, it was just like rhinestones and like and glitter and all that was like what I grew up on, like carnival makeup front.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something that was just like an everyday thing. So now you see rhinestones and glitter and all these things on my timeline, and it's no longer something that is like new. I mean, it's always refreshing to see, but it's like I love that how it's become normalized, and the ways that people have continuously innovated even their own styles to incorporate that quote unquote trend.
Yeah, and that even reminds me, I mean, festival makeup is such a big part of like summer beauty sales and marketing. So I'm curious to see if people will still be kind of doing any at home, Coachella inspired makeup looks, or if we're just going to blow past that entirely and maybe it'll be more scaled down or it'll be more minimalistic in some ways. But I'll be interested to see what we see in the next few weeks at the beginning of summer, where we're used to seeing the like face paint or the flower crown or the braided hair tutorials for when you can't shower for 3 days when you're camped out at Bonnaroo or whatever it is.
Right. So, are there any platforms that are, not social media platforms, but platforms that have helped you or helps you with your process? I know we've had a conversation about Asana and like,
Yes, you got me on Asana.
and then Zoom is really good for like, hosting classes or whatever. So I want to like just kind of dig deeper into like what platforms would really help, those listening to the today's episode.
Yeah, I think two to add to that list. One is Later for scheduling posts, and I actually use Later both for my personal social media and I also use it to schedule Jumprope social media.
Mhm.
And Later is great because you can upload images, set the time that you want them to go up, write a caption, even write the first comment of like an Instagram post with hashtags in it, and you can schedule it to auto publish.
Mhm.
Later works with business accounts for Instagram, but not with creator accounts or personal accounts. So to do auto publish, you just want to make sure that you have a business account on Instagram. For a creator account, you can't auto publish, but it'll pop up on your app on your phone and say, hey, you scheduled a post for 9 a.m., like approve it right now, and you can approve it manually.
Right.
But Later is great because you can do Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. So I actually haven't gone over to Tailwind yet for Pinterest because I'm able to schedule pins through Later. So for me, it's kind of helpful to have those in one place. And
Mhm.
then the second tool that I think has been really helpful for me is Canva, because that's where I create all my graphics for Pinterest, for marketing my content that I do on like my blog and YouTube. And then I also use it to create my thumbnails for my YouTube videos, which I mean, I'm not a graphic designer. So to be able to just log in, see kind of already beautifully made templates and be able to run with them and download them is awesome. And both of those platforms have a free option. So if you're just starting out, you can use both of those for free. And then they also both kind of have like a paid or pro option. So I currently pay for both Later and Canva, but they do have free versions if you're just starting out.
Yeah, I am obsessed with Canva. Well, I do also have the paid subscription, and that new background remover tool is like
Yes.
so heavenly. I love it so much. Uh,
It's so good.
and then can you tell me more? Like, I know, we spoke about Asana, but can you tell me more about your experience and how you've been utilizing the app slash website?
Yeah, so for Asana, and I mainly use Asana for my personal content creation. It really is just like an organizer of all of my thoughts. So what I love about it is the ability to kind of connect to-do lists together. So I have one master list that's just called business tasks or something, but then I can break it down into different boards. So I have like a YouTube content board, I have a email newsletter board for my career newsletter, which is basically an email that I send out every Wednesday with tips for small business owners, freelancers, and creative entrepreneurs. And I organize my content in there through that also. And then I even have my blog posts, like what I want coming up on the blog. And that's pretty much the main thing. But I love that the one kind of master list allows me to see everything at once. And I can also keep kind of general business tasks on there too, like checking in on if I have to pay taxes, like tracking my business expenses and things like that. I mean, it is just kind of all in one. And I downloaded the mobile app as well so that if I'm on the go, and if you have your to-do list on your computer and you wanted to add something to it, that you can just easily do it on the phone as well.
Right.
So that's kind of how I'm able to have a master like bird's eye view of what all of the content coming up is.
Yeah. And a really cool part about Asana is that you can link it to your Google Calendar if you use that already. Um,
Hmm.
and then I wanted to add that I use Planoly instead of Later. I've been looking at Later, but Planoly has been like, it's almost the same thing, but I've been using it for so long. And just to add, guys, like these platforms, you can actually like see your analytics. You can see like, how many people liked it or what time did you post, so you kind of have a bird's eye view of like what's working and what's not. So I would definitely encourage you to check out either platforms.
Definitely. They're both great.
So are there any last tips or words that you want to leave with us today?
I think, for anyone who wants to get started with beauty content creation, just keeping a few things in mind as kind of best practices for filming might be helpful. So, the first and foremost, top of my list, important thing that I think separates good content from bad content is lighting. Make sure that you are well lit when you are filming a beauty video or tutorial. It is so important to be able to see, exactly how the product looks on skin, how the shades match, what the texture of things are. And I think that above all else, if you have good lighting, that honestly is like 70% of the battle to make your content stand out so people can actually see what you're doing.
Mhm.
Another thing that is important is sound. So for beauty, this is actually pretty easy if you don't want to deal with getting the perfect sound, because you can always film a video and then mute it and just put music over it. You could do that in Jumprope, or if you're just filming something in iMovie or InShot on your phone, you can do that as well. Or if you want to add a voiceover later, you can always get like a microphone that plugs into your phone that you can add sound to after. But I think lighting and sound from a production standpoint are really important. I think that, I film all of my videos for Jumprope on my iPhone. And so if you have a phone with a camera, which I'm assuming most listeners do, you are already well equipped to start creating content. And I think that as far as kind of the different areas of beauty, if you're filming like a nail video, having a towel nearby and a nail file and all of your tools is good just before you get set up. I think that if you are filming like a hair video, being near an outlet, having access to heat tools if you need them, things like that, just like going through the process of what you're going to need throughout the video and getting it all organized next to you so that you can just hit film and
Right.
be in the zone of it is really key.
It takes
And then
away
I
so
think
much stress from the whole process.
right, because then you're not halfway through and realizing, oh, I didn't pick up the beauty sponge, got to go wet it in the bathroom and then come back here and then, just do all of those things, which I do that almost every time I film a video. So I should really take my own advice. But yeah, and just also letting your personality shine through. And again, if you're just doing kind of like a sped up quick little video for Instagram, just even smiling or tossing the beauty sponge around or something like that to let us know what your personality is can be conveyed without speaking. But I think that in beauty, I mean, personalities really are everything. Just looking at the people we know from YouTube, and then on Instagram, I would say, as far as makeup artists like Katie Jane Hughes and Nambo have done an amazing job kind of building personal brands where they do makeup looks and they share what they do on celebrities, but they've also kind of become their own brands in a way too.
Right.
And just have fun with it at the end of the day because beauty and makeup are supposed to be fun.
It is. I love that you shared that. It's such good tips. And I also want to thank you for dropping these gems. How can we support you, whether it's a follow, picking up your ebook, joining your email list? Like, how can we support you? Because I'm so grateful that you shared all these tips with us today.
You are so sweet. I would love to give your listeners a code to get my ebook for just $5. My ebook is right on pitch. So if you've been wanting to reach out and start working with beauty brands, this is the ebook for you. And I will use the code makeup artist to give you guys a discount on that. And then from there, you can find me on my website is keepcalmandchiffon.com, or austentosone.com is my like professional website. I'm Austen Tosone on all my social media platforms. And then if you want to check out Jumprope, you can download it for free from the App Store or the Google Play Store. And you can follow them on Instagram at Let's Jumprope.
Do you mind spelling your name for us? If that's
Of
all
course.
right.
So my name is Austen, Austen, Tosone, Tosone. And I'm at Austen Tosone on Instagram and Pinterest and TikTok and YouTube.
Thank you so much. I am so appreciative. And guys, do not sleep on her ebook. I learned so much from Austen and continue to. And I don't want you guys to miss out on this gem.
Oh, you are so sweet. Thank you so much for having me on. And if anyone wants to chat, feel free to slide into my DMs and say hello. I get back to all my DMs, and I'm more than happy to learn more about you guys and the content that you create and see if I can help out in any way.
I love it. Thank you so much, guys. And we will see you in the next episode.
Yay. Bye.
Bye, guys.